Hey, this is Russ McClellan with Small Towns Unscripted, and one more time we're at the Sunset Marina. What I want to say is thank you to Sunset Marina for letting us have this venue to do our podcast. But this venue isn't just for our podcast. It's for all the guests, right, that have marina slips. But more importantly, in the off season, right now, probably through the spring, maybe early summer, you can rent this venue for family reunions, get-togethers, play poker, whatever you want. Weddings. I actually had my wedding here. So this is one of those cool venues that a lot of people don't know about, but you can contact Jolene Baker and she'll be happy to hook you up. Thanks, kid. Hey, Brett Lamar. Welcome to Small Towns Unscripted. One more time. This is Nicole Turner. I'm Russ McClellan. That's Hector behind the camera. So thanks for coming, Brett. It's been a while since we've had a chance, a long time.
Yeah.
Time goes by. It was yesterday we were in high school.
Yes, it was.
So, you've seen a few episodes, maybe?
Oh, several, yeah. Actually, I feel very honored to even be on this. There's a lot of, it's kind of the who's who of the Valley these days. And
Wow.
I think you're gaining some traction with, folks just getting the chance to listen in. And you got to take a little time, obviously, to listen. But, I've had several of my friends on here, Brian Peoples, Kyle Plew. One of the first ones I watched was Earl and Judy Stanford. I mean, those are such solid people.
Yeah, I want to redo them. Can we have them back on now that it's been a year?
Yeah, Earl's funny. He's in my dad's class, right?
Oh, I didn't know that.
And then he spoke at my dad's funeral, and just he told some stories about my dad and high school.
And then the broken glass playing as a kid on the baseball field.
Did
or
you
the
hear
football
that part of the
field?
story?
Yes, I did. Yeah.
He goes, "Oh, it wasn't a big deal." I'm like, "Yeah, you guys are all bloody from class." Some
Don't
stories.
slide into second.
Yeah, and it's just even his philosophy about not having worry or stress or like things just aren't that big of a deal. Just work hard and keep moving forward. I'm just like, ugh.
You have to appreciate him for who he is.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many people that I wish that are, including my parents that have passed away and your parents.
Yeah.
And somebody had this idea. I can't remember who told me. They said you should evolve into a podcast about someone that's passed away, but have their friends are still alive.
Yeah.
And just do a tribute to.
That's a cool idea.
We still need to do that.
That'd be fun, I think.
Because there was one person in particular that was the
Wally Peterson was one that came.
Yeah.
Yep, as the original idea from that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm good friends with Cappy and.
I asked Cappy about it too, and he said that'd be great.
Yeah.
So we need to do that.
Yeah, we've done one of these every week for 53 weeks, 54, something like that. I don't even know.
Yeah, this is pretty cool for a little town like this to be able to have this sort of level of interaction. I mean, it's pretty cool.
Well, it's resonating, I think. We're starting to get, like you said, some traction. And the whole mission was simple. And we talked about it off air, but so often today's world is full of judgment.
Mm-hmm.
It always has been, but now you have social media, which gives everybody the opportunity without consequence to say whatever the hell they want, anytime they want.
Yeah.
And hurtful things. And I think sometimes that comes from this lack of information or a lack of understanding about each other. So getting to know each other, hopefully, is a way to have some commonality.
I've lived that. I've often said that living here in the Lake Chelan Valley, and I love it here. I mean, there's a reason why I've stayed here and raised my kids here. And I will continue to stay here. I'll probably die here, which it's okay too. But the knitness of our community can be like a warm blanket sometimes, and it's like really comforting, especially when you go through tragedy and loss and things like that. Having everybody gather around you, but sometimes when there is a judgment and misinformation out there or misunderstanding. It can feel like a sleeping bag and you've been stuffed at the other end and somebody's sitting on the end of it and it's suffocating. Mm-hmm. And it can be the exact same thing at the same time, which I've learned is sometimes hard. You can feel two emotions or have two things happening at the same time that can both be true. Mm-hmm. And so I think that happens sometimes with information in our valley. Maybe it isn't disseminated correctly, or the rumor mill, or now social media. And somebody says something that they thought is correct. In their mind, it's correct. But until somebody steps up and says, let's have a conversation about this and correct where I think you've misunderstood this or where it's wrong, or hear it from the horse's mouth. And so often back in the day, that's how we used to solve it. If I would hear something about one of my customers or somebody was saying something about us, I would pick up the phone and just call them, or I'd stop into their office and say, hey, can I talk to you for a second? And,
Right.
we need to clear the air on this because I hope this isn't true, what's going on or what's being said. And I think people appreciated that. But it's a different day today. People hide behind their keyboards and their computers, and there's this distance.
Yeah.
My kids are always reluctant to make a phone call. Being a Gen Xer, it's just like, just call them.
Yeah.
We just call them, hey.
Oh man, I have that in the real estate business where we were up to almost 100 agents a few years ago.
Wow.
And the younger generation mainly, but it kind of was spreading, where we get addicted to email, addicted to text, addicted to Facebook messages, Snapchat, Instagram, whatever it is. There's so many ways. But I had actually one of my agents say, because I was like trying to lead generate. I go, you have to, these are big ticket items. You need to develop a relationship, and you need to have a value proposition for your clients. And they're like, I just don't agree with that. And I'm like, agree with what? And they're like, well, I think it's just fundamentally rude to call somebody without texting and getting permission. And I was like, And I'm trying to be open-minded because I don't know about you, but I'm feeling literally in the last year like I'm becoming my dad more and more, where I'm walking uphill both ways barefoot to school,
Well, let me get my driver's license out, because every time I look at it, I'm like, what the hell is my dad doing on my driver's license?
Yeah, and I don't know if it's a generational agent up thing, and Nicole keeps me in line, and Des, and but I'm like, sometimes I'm asking people to do things that I have to try to understand where they're coming from.
I think I'm at the point anymore where I probably do that. Maybe it's because my kids have kind of told me, Dad, you don't just do that. So you'll text me, hey, is it okay if I call? You got a quick second, kind of thing. It's like, and then they'll say, yeah, give me a call. And so then we have the conversation. Yeah.
Just different, right?
It is. It's not. Back in the day, we used to call all the time.
Yeah.
And you never did not answer the phone.
Yeah.
You always answered the phone. That was super rude if you didn't answer the phone.
Yeah, that's such a good point, because my phone's, it's ringing so often. Most of the time, if I'm working, it's off because I get so much spam.
Yeah.
It's like I don't know how AI, like, it's just crazy.
Sometimes I get the same message like 7 times over, and it's like, I haven't called you back, so why are you still calling me?
The one I
you think the 7th time I'm going to call you back?
They call you over and over, and they don't say anything. And you're like, hello?
Yeah, I know.
Like, what's the point of, what's your business plan here? How are you going to screw me over if you don't talk to me? I'm trying to figure it out.
Oh, got him.
Yeah, he answered.
Okay. We'll show you.
Well, that's the problem. You probably answered, so they registered, well, this number is answering, so then we short the list, and now we know.
Then they sent it out to everybody and said, okay, you can call them now.
Yeah.
Who knows? Yeah. But so, what we try to do too, Brett, for people that don't know you, I'd love to talk about your family and your history.
Yeah, sure.
And so let's go back. I knew your parents. Your sister Amy was in my grade, right? Beautiful, beautiful person.
She was just here last weekend.
Was she?
Yeah.
Good. Yeah. I hope she's doing well.
She is.
That's good. And then your grandparents. Talk to me about your grandparents.
Well, so on my dad's side, my grandpa was a stonemason and contractor. And so my dad grew up around the construction business. He would haul the mud to my grandpa, who was laying bricks or stone or whatever, and building fireplaces. He was a hod carrier. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
I did that once.
And my dad actually was a high level. He was a collegiate swimmer, and so
your dad was.
I guess he got strong by hauling around the buckets of the mud for my grandpa. They lived in Mukilteo, and just right up off the sound there. And man, I just remember going and visiting my grandpa, and he had 12 acres up on the hillside. If you go to Mukilteo now, there's just as you go across the bridge, there's Lamar Drive there, and that's all my family's old land up there.
Wow.
And he had trails all in the woods and stuff, and the trails would lead all the way down to the beach, and we'd go down there and turning over rocks and looking at crabs and all that kind of stuff.
So different than it is now.
Oh, absolutely. It's packed out now. It's all developed, and but Lamar Drive is still there. And Deborah Lawn Lane at the top of Lamar Drive was my cousin Debbie, my cousin Lonnie, and me, Brett, Deborah Lawn. Amy wasn't born yet, so we couldn't add her on there.
I'll have to find you a street one of these years.
She missed out. And then on my mom's side, they were Wenatchee folks. My grandma was a piano teacher in Wenatchee for years. She just passed during the pandemic at 94 96, I think.
Wow, she's got a long, good life.
Yeah, she even taught my kids. She taught me piano. She taught my
your whole
kids
family's so musical, it's ridiculous.
My dad wasn't really, but he came along for the ride.
Yeah.
So
I remember your mom and Amy. I remember you guys were all.
So that's, my grandma was musical, and my aunt was very musical, and my grandpa passed pretty early. He passed at like 56, which I just passed that here a couple of years ago, so that made me feel good. So unfortunately, he taught us how to fish and hunt and all that stuff. He's very much an outdoorsman, and we did a lot of camping. And so, between the two different sets of grandparents, very, very diverse and very different, and got a little bit of West Side in there, got a little bit of Central Washington, and we settled here. And Mom and Dad moved here in '69. We moved to Manson in '70, and never looked back. So,
and so your dad founded Lake Chelan Building Supply?
Yeah, he and Mom. So actually, Dad was working for, when we first came back, he was working for a company out of Wenatchee called Belt Sundries. And Mom was working for Marion Bumgardner and their mine company. And she was their secretary and payroll and all that kind of stuff. And so Dad was working for them, and he actually got asked by Mac and Larry Cox to come work at Builders Lumber. So he worked there, I want to say 4 or 5 years, and during that time, he became assistant manager. Mac was kind of starting to step off, and Larry was the manager. And they had talked to my dad, and there was a kind of an informal offering of at some point maybe he could buy in and become a partner. And so I hope I'm getting the order right here. If the Cox family says, if Linda calls us that I got it wrong,
it's unscripted for
but
us.
The time came where my grandfather Grandpa Lamar passed and left my dad some money, and my dad went to the Coxes and said, "Hey, but I'm kind of ready to do it," and they kind of met with the family, and I think Mac's wife said, "I don't think I want a non-family member as a partner." And so Dad's like, "Well, just so you know, I'm probably going to start another lumberyard, and I'm probably going to do it out in Manson." And they're kind of like, I mean, at the time, this was
I remember
78, 79.
Yeah.
There was nothing out there. There was no Wapato Point. It was like, why would you do that? I mean, and so I think they kind of chuckled him off a little.
You might have had the Willie's hardware store.
Yeah.
Was that out there still?
And there was I think a Western Auto downtown.
Yeah, my mom worked at Western Auto.
And,
I remember that.
You know, a couple of small the store,
the Lemon
and
Tree.
Smitty's and the Lemon Tree, and it was there wasn't much. There wasn't much, and not a lot of people. I mean, the orchardists, it was pretty spread out. Like if you go out to the back hills of Manson today, it's still very similar. But just people lived on larger plots, kind of like your folks. I think you guys are probably on 20 acres, 10 acres out there.
Yeah, 10 on Washington. I just bought. My son and I just bought Dwayne Hubbard's place.
Oh, really?
So we just moved out this weekend.
Oh, wow.
So now he's back to.
I didn't know it's possible. I mean, we just got blessed with that and having the 2 parcels, and then it's like a quarter mile down the road from where I grew up. Jamie Lumen was in my grade, so now Daryl Lumen's my neighbor.
Yeah,
so.
Drew had the little racetrack out there out back.
Yeah, it was nostalgic though. I was walking through it. Keith Allen was a listing agent, and it's very, very. I don't know what the right word is, but it's like a dream come true. I didn't think it was in the cards.
Yeah,
because it's hard to do.
Well, the funny thing is, I wrote on my bio that I live in the house I grew up in, but it's not the Hallmark movie that you think it is. It's all by happen chance that I ended up back there, and it worked out.
Didn't you live by the school?
Yeah, we lived off of Hill Street.
Yeah,
we lived in front of Tom and Linda Batch's place there. Yeah, still there. Built a house for my dad right next to me, and then he passed, and he actually never got to live in it. We didn't finish it in time, but. So my daughter and her husband live there now. So,
oh, fun.
Yeah.
So your mom in the early 90s?
Mom got cancer in 92, and then she passed in 09.
Oh, so a long time she went through that.
17 years. She got diagnosed with stage 4 non-Hodgkin's lymphoma, and she was given 6 weeks to 6 months to live.
And she lasted
years. She chose to go to Mexico and do an alternative treatment.
Really?
And was cancer-free for 15 years, 16 years. And then it came back and was a little slower growing. And she tried to fight it with chemo and stuff. And
that's kind of a miracle.
It was a miracle.
That's amazing.
She was their poster child. It was I can't try to remember the name of the company that they did it through, but it's called the Gerson therapy.
So like diet?
It was diet, yeah. It was like really weird. I mean, no sugar. I mean, it was keto before keto. All organic meats, and she bought her own bin of Johnny Gold apples down at Trout, and she would go down and she'd juice the apples and wheatgrass and all kinds of weird stuff.
She was a special woman.
Yeah.
Both
and music was just her love, and she tried to instill that in us kids, and it stuck for the most part. So.
It did, yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. I think I might have even had a piano lesson once. I think she saw me and said, "Oh, go play."
Stick to sports. Yeah. that did you pretty well, so you did all right. So.
That's funny. I tried.
Yeah.
I tried in college too, and then that didn't work out.
And didn't you play for Wenatchee Valley for a little bit?
Yeah, Frank and I.
Yeah.
Frank Phelps and I went from Manson, which was fun because it was like an overgrown high school.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, Brooke and I, we did that podcast together, and we just talked about how, like when she was at Bainbridge and the gym was kind of empty, where she grew up, we were always packed, right?
Yeah.
And that was kind of the thing to do, and it was dark at 4 and no cable,
Yeah.
They had 3 channels and no internet, no cell phones. The community were really involved. Well, that's what Wenatchee was like too, where we'd go to play at a Spokane Falls or Bellevue community, and there's nobody in the gym. We'd have a home game. We'd have 200 football players that were all crazy, and then we'd have the whole town Wenatchee because there's no other colleges, right? So it was kind of fun.
Yeah, it was kind of weird. I got my first wife passed away from cancer, and I got remarried, and we would go up while I was dating her, and we'd go to her son's, now my son, some of his games and stuff, and nobody shows up.
Yeah.
It's like,
where was that at?
It was in Vancouver, BC.
Oh,
and so then they came down here, and the summer he moved down, he joined the football team. And we went to the first football game, and she's like, I thought this was only on the movies, because the whole freaking town was there.
Yeah,
there's 500 people in the stands, and we're walking around. It's like everybody we know is here, and she goes, this is different and weird, and it's like, nah, this is what you do.
Yeah, I told Nicole before, we had games. I think our senior year we played Chelan 3 times, and it was very competitive games, and I think it was a moneymaker too for the school.
Absolutely.
So many people from both schools, but there was a coax cable they'd run outside. I don't know if you remember that, and they'd have those big TV stands on rollers, and they plugged in and simulcasted the game with a coax cable, and all the guys were out smoking cigarettes because the gym was standing room only.
And full, probably.
Okay. Yeah.
And in the wintertime, they're out there freezing. Oh, look at that play, on these crazy old TVs.
That has definitely changed. The Manson and Chelan, I don't think, play each other. They're starting to a little bit more, but back in the day, we played each other a lot.
Yeah, it was very competitive, I think, just at the time.
What did you guys call it when you guys... because Wenatchee and East Wenatchee's Battle of the Bridges, right? Because so
I don't know.
You guys have to have some cool special names.
The Mistake by the Lake, I don't know.
Yeah. There has to be something.
Yeah.
If nobody has a crazy cool catchphrase, we need to bring it back.
We always had nothing to lose because they were much bigger.
Yeah, we were the little brother that was always trying to get their attention and stuff. Look at us, and they're like, whatever.
Manson was so different that way from a real estate perspective, and you being in the lumberyard for so long, you probably saw it evolve and happen, but now it's like Manson's kind of becoming this little bedroom Bel Air of the valley. I mean, it's a wild.
Yeah, I mean, it was interesting back in the that run that we had in 2000 to 2006, 7. I think we even maybe stayed into it a little bit longer than the West Side did into 08. But I was on the Chamber of Commerce at the time, and I can remember being on there with Libby from Riverwalk Books and a few others. That we always would banter back and forth between Manson and Chelan. And we were looking at, that's when that big report came out. There was all the available lots that were potentially going to come online in the next few years. And there was all these developers that we're looking at. And the amount of lots that were potentially going to happen in Manson was ridiculous. I mean, it was like...
This was pre-GMA?
Yeah. This was like... I think somebody at one point in time said like 700 or 800 potential lots, and Chelan only had like 300 or something like that. And
wow.
So we were talking about that and joking around, and she goes, wow, at some point Manson could become bigger than Chelan. And she whipped around on me and she says, well, last time I checked, it's Lake Chelan, not Lake Manson. And I'm like, we get big enough, we can change that.
Are you incorporated?
It would never ring the same.
No,
Lake Manson.
No, we're the village on the bay.
Yeah, we're the village on the bay. Yeah. You know what? And I make this joke all the time too. So people who know me will hear this and they're like, oh my gosh, Brett. Gilligan's Island. You ever watch it?
Mm-hmm.
I grew up on it. Mm-hmm. Chelan is Ginger. Manson is Marianne.
Metaphor.
She's the little farm girl, right? And she always will be.
Yeah.
You can dress her up in the prettiest dress and everything else. She's still going to be Manson. She's going to be quiet. She's going to be a little more reserved. Chelan's the namesake, man. She's the golden child in here, and it's the glitz and the glam for whatever. Not really glitz and glam in here, but
it's funny because you've been involved in the leadership in the community for a long time and watched it evolve. And I've sold real estate. This is my 36th year here selling real estate, basically, and change is inevitable, right? So I always try to convince people, like, just to say no doesn't solve any problems. Yeah. Because the inevitability of that is just that. It's inevitable that this is going to continue to grow because it's America, it's a nice place, and now technology is allowing more people to live here. So it's interesting to see how do we channel that in a way that is a good approach, where the best of change. And I always say that change is always messy. I mean, there's nothing that is easy while you're going through it, because everybody likes what is for the most part, right?
Or what was.
Or what was, And I agree. I'd like to go back to the 80s. Yeah, I think that'd be really fun. I love that time.
Good time.
But I can't go back in time.
Although the tourist situation back in the 80s was kind of crazy. I remember, good buddies with Jim Harding, and I remember people, shacking out in their orchards and stuff, and tents and stuff like that. And they'd go turn the water on just to get everybody to wake up and go home.
Yeah, it was a Fort Lauderdale of the fraternities and sororities.
Oh, yeah, and I was in a fraternity at Washington State, and everybody talked about coming to Lake Chelan. Like, you're from Lake Chelan? Oh, my gosh, now we got a place to stay when we come over. I'm like, no.
You're like, I'm sorry.
No, you're not.
We talked about the other day, right? We got a resemblance of that in COVID. When everybody, all the kids, because Jim Oscarson took a picture from 1985 at Don Moore City Park and 2020. And it was like,
did they treat the town the same during COVID?
Kind of, yeah. I mean, they're just kids partying.
Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know. I wasn't.
Yeah, but they brought in the 80s, maybe late 80s, early 90s, they brought in all the cops and said, enough.
Yep.
We're going to write everybody.
No, I think they brought in King County cops.
And horses and bikes and you name it. They said, write them a ticket and let the judge work it out.
All my fraternity brothers were talking about, the minor in possessions and urinating in public and all that stuff that they got when they were here. Just like,
so it changed into a more family, which has been good. And the vineyard, a lot of people talk about the change in the vineyard and the apple industry being, difficult. Well, the vineyards have really been a blessing for the aesthetics.
Well, it's kept the ag component.
Yeah. And
it's a different type of a component of agriculture, but initially this valley was forestry, and so that's also agriculture, but a different type. And we moved into apples and cherries, and then now we're moving into the grapes. And I'm happy to have that component. I think that's one of the reasons why people are attracted to just the lifestyle here. There's just a little slower. Right? I mean, you grew up, your dad was an orchardist, and that was, 90% of our customer base was that. And things just happened at a different pace. Harvest was busy and everybody was, pedal to the metal for a couple of months. But for the rest of the year, it was just a nice, easy, slow pace of getting things done. And they did get a lot of stuff done. When you look at all the things that have happened, talking about Wally Peterson and Steve Byquist and all the things that have, happened, with Echo Valley Ski Area and the Boat Club and all the different things that happened. That all happened on the backs of those guys who were orchardists or working in and around that. Because they had the time, they had equipment, they had the people, and they brought all that and they donated it and gave it back to the community. And now we end up with these great, wonderful things that were started by people that just, it was a different lifestyle back then.
Yeah.
So you said you went to Washington State. Was that a good time?
It was a very good time. I mean, I did not drink in high school, which is weird.
Not very many of us did.
Coming out of that, well, the group ahead of us sure did.
Yeah, there's pockets.
Yeah, and then I kind of think it was my class that kind of changed that a little bit. We just chose we weren't going to do that, and I think by the time you were heading out your senior year, you were definitely starting to. Once I got to Washington State, that all changed. But there's a couple years that I have how much I remember. But I actually went there on a music scholarship, believe it or not. Nice. Got a all tuition paid, and got to in music you have a crossroad at about 2 years where you have to make a choice whether you want to go into performance or education. And I'm like, neither. Is there another option? Can I pick C? And there was no other option, so I had to step off and let my scholarship go because I just didn't see a career path.
Yeah, what were you, a trumpet player?
Trumpet player, piano.
I remember.
Yeah, I did a little bit of vocal stuff too.
Nice.
And so just really upset my mom when I kind of walked away from it, but went and got a degree in communications, and I still got my minor in music. But no, that was a fun time there. That was right on the cusp of when the party phase was kind of just starting to tip off at Washington State. And it was everything they said. It was pretty crazy.
Not a lot to do out there.
There's not a lot to do in Pullman, but it was a good time. I still love being a Coug. I'm lamenting the dismantling of the Pac-12, and we've kind of gotten kicked to the curb in that whole thing, but. That's unfortunate. But.
Now, when you got out of school, did you come right home? Did you go to?
No, I worked for a company. I went to work for a company over in Kirkland. The Vanderhook family over there owned a window company, and so sold windows for them for 3 years.
And you worked at the lumberyard growing up, I would imagine. Right?
I did, all through college even. And then the funny thing is I remember there was this delivery for this guy who had this house down on the lake, and my dad said, "You need to take this delivery." He says, "Why do I need to take this delivery?" And he goes, "Because you may want to know this guy at some point in time." And it was Ted Vanderhook, the owner of this company.
Oh wow!
So every time Ted wanted a delivery, I took it, and so got to know Ted and all that kind of stuff.
Relationships.
Graduated from college. My dad was a smart man.
He was.
And Ted's like, "Yeah, you know what? Why don't you come over and have an interview?" Interviewed with his company, got hired on, became one of his top salesmen. And then in '92, I had just gotten married to Sherry, and she was from Pateros. And the next, 2 weeks later, my mom got the diagnosis. So my dad's, a couple weeks went by, and he's like, "I need you to come back, or your mom and I think we're going to have to sell the business." I'm like, so a little earlier than I thought, but Sherry and I talked about it and prayed about it, and we decided yes to come back. And happened to know Ed Eckberg really well. He had a house, which is now Charlie Brown's house, down on the lake there. And he says, "We want you kids to rent this." And it ended up being the place where, I think Kyle talked about this a couple weeks ago when you had him in. We were part of the youth ministry that he was in for North Shore Bible Church. And we had the youth group down at that house we did water skiing down there. Oh man, it was the greatest. It was the greatest. We did that for 5 years.
Yeah.
And then we stayed with him even after that. We built up at Echo and moved out of that house, but we still stayed with the youth ministry for I think 12 years. But,
yeah, Kyle was going on and on about how that was some of the best times.
Those were good times. To have an event where we would pack a gym full of kids we would do these lip sync contests.
Oh, I bet that was so cool.
And well, of course, as adults, we had to outdo anything the kids did. So every year we kept having to outdo ourselves. We were doing zip lines out of the ceiling, and we'd be in there for 2 weeks building these
full stage
sets
performances
and stuff. And
So you're like, okay, we can't outdo ourselves anymore. We're calling it a quit.
there was a point where we had to
wrap.
stop. Yeah, it was like we got to stop doing this, but it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun.
So you got married in '92 to a Pateros girl. You guys must have known each other.
So she knew us. I don't know if you remember back in the day, the volleyball. She was a volleyball player.
Okay.
And she remembers the Furman Munson incident where he defecated on the bus.
Yeah.
That was her bus.
didn't hear that story.
Oh, that's a bad story. That's a bad story. Yeah, but she remembers we had all the football team would show up, and we would scream and yell as loud as we could until that last second when they get ready to serve the ball. And she just remembers this sitting there looking at this group of boys, and we all wore ties, so we were all dressed up, and we're just loud and obnoxious. We weren't obnoxious at them; we were just obnoxious and loud. And she said she remembers looking back across at that group. Says, "I wonder if I'll marry one of those boys."
Oh, really?
Aww.
There you go.
We didn't even meet here. We met over in Kirkland. She was going to Northwest College over there, and which is Northwest University now, I think, and in Kirkland. And then I was working in Kirkland, and so we ended up actually meeting there. And her family then moved to Manson up on Division Street, just a couple doors down from Paul Finley. So,
wow. That was meant to be then.
Yeah.
So wait, how did you guys meet in Kirkland?
We actually met through my mom because they had bought the house in Manson, and she came down after hours and Sherry did, and wanted a gallon of paint, and my mom got the chance to talk to her, and my mom calls me, "I just met this girl, she's from Paterra, she just moved to town. You need to meet her." And I'm just like, "Oh my gosh, Mom, stop." So next time I was home, I did meet her. I'm like, she's pretty cute.
Good job, Mom.
That's the first dating app right there.
Yeah, Mom.
Your mom.
My mom mixing paint down to one
relationship, networking.
That's so cute.
I got one for you, Brett.
Yeah.
That's funny. Oh. And then you guys were married, and then she sadly got diagnosed with cancer. You said.
Yeah, so we
had 3 kids? Or was that?
We had 2
kids.
Bryce and Alyssa, and then Bev, her son, I adopted. And we adopt each other's kids.
Right.
We had 2 kids, and they both went. She taught at Manson for 18 years, first grade, kindergarten. A lot of kids had Mrs. Lamar. They were part of Mrs. Lamar's superstars, she called them. And a lot of kids had hers. I think the last class that she taught just graduated here like a year or so ago. Unfortunately, good and healthy, and 39 and diagnosed with stage 4 breast cancer. And she made it 3.5 years. She was only given 6 months too, and made it 3.5 years. And I was very happy and very thankful I got the 3.5 years. It would have sucked to only have had 6 months with her.
Yeah.
After she was diagnosed, but rough stuff. And then to have my mom pass while she had cancer. Tough patch for my kids too.
What's the hardest part about going through something of that magnitude, and it happens sadly to so many people? What is the...
Well, there's so many facets of it. I mean, there's the emotional side of it, of just trying to be strong for your family, and especially for her as the husband. You always want to try and fix it, and this is something you can't fix.
Yeah.
But you have to support her, and try and make life as livable. You're living in between doctor's appointments and chemotherapy, and how's she feeling and all that kind of stuff, and yet still trying to have a life. We had a cabin up lake in Lucerne with Kevin Amsden, and that was a nice reprieve to go up there and just kind of forget about life down here. So much of it was the onslaught of Facebook and everything else. The information that would get out there and things that we'd hear back, we tried to really take control of that. So she started a blog, it's still out there, and she would blog, after her appointments and things like that, and get the correct information out there so people could hear it from her. So like what you're doing here, almost. I mean, it's just controlling that flow of information and make sure people aren't hearing the wrong thing, because you'd hear stuff back and it's just like, what? That's not true. It's unfortunate. But also too, I think, going through something of that magnitude in a small town, you definitely feel the warm blanket part of it, but at the same time you feel the suffocating part of it. And after she passed, and took a little time before I started dating again, I kept that pretty quiet. I didn't want to have everybody involved in that, because they were so involved in Sherry being sick and caring for the kids and us and everything else, that it was just time for me to do this on my own, right?
Yeah.
And so when I announced my engagement, people were like, what? Mm-hmm. It's like, well, I don't have to have you involved in everything
I didn't
in
put
my
everything
life.
on Facebook.
Yeah.
I did. I put nothing on Facebook.
I wasn't asking you permission for me to live. Thank
yeah,
you.
that's hard. Unfortunately, that's another thing with a small town is I think people, because they do know you and they have a relationship with you, and so I think they feel, I don't want to say a right, but they feel like they can comment or tell you what they think, or
Yeah.
which is fine. I don't mind that. I'm a big boy. I can handle what people think or say.
What advice would you give to people that are just now going through it for the first time, now that you've had to deal with your mom, your wife?
Well,
because it has to be overwhelming.
Number one, the statistics are what they are, but that's not your story. Your story's not written yet. That's a conglomeration of all the other stories that happened. Now, will your time be what your time is? Maybe. But you also get now. You get now. So you need to live for now. I mean, we took 2 trips with our kids to Disneyland, and I mean, we did lots of stuff that probably we wouldn't have done if she hadn't been diagnosed. So live your life, get out there and enjoy the things that you can, and try not to get overwhelmed by, I've counseled a lot of people. They're like, hey, tell us what it's like, what's it going to look like? What's it going to be like? How's it going to be? I said, well, I can't tell you exactly what yours is going to, I can tell you the road marks that I passed along the way and how that's going to go. Kyle and I are looking at possibly starting a grief group just to help people through that. And one thing that I was told in one of the grief groups, so I don't know if you remember Ron Skagin. So Ron actually, through Ed Ekberg again, Ed was a great man. Ron came alongside me. Ron's story is almost identical to mine.
Really? Yeah.
39 years old, teacher at Manson, 3.5 years with cancer. They had 3 kids, we had 2. But
yeah, like
she
how much more
passed.
similar can you get?
So
Yeah.
he came alongside me and became my mentor for about 6 months. And just great to have somebody who'd already been there, right? And I've done that for a couple other guys who have had the same thing happen. And just that support, and because it is a bit of an unknown, right? Because you don't know. I think that's the hardest part, is you do feel a bit like you ascend when your loved one is given a terminal diagnosis, like you ascend into a valley and you can't see the horizon anymore. It's really hard to think about, when we retire in 10 years, or even talking about that, it's really hard because the reality is there's a strong potential that person is not going to be there for that.
Yeah.
And so all those conversations, your life becomes very short and you can't see beyond the mountains that are kind of cramming you in at the time.
Well, I can imagine with both your mom and your wife, where they gave them 6 weeks or 6 months, or then you're like, are you right? I mean, I would imagine I'd be mad. Are you right? How do you know? I bet there'd be defiance.
Well, you go through all the stages of grief.
Yeah.
And that's the thing that I got taught at one of the grief classes, is that, especially when you are a spouse of somebody who gets that terminal diagnosis, your grief begins the day they get that diagnosis. It does not begin the day they die. Because you're already starting to prepare yourself for the potential. You just got told that this person is potentially not going to be here 6 months, a year, 2 years from now. And now your mind's thinking, well, what's that going to be like? Right. I have to kind of like prepare myself for this.
And you think you can, I bet you would think you could fix it. I mean, I would.
Oh, I tried. I tried.
Like in your head, I can fix this, I can fix that, I'm a problem solver, let's talk to this guy.
I got sat down by one, I can't even remember her name, but she was probably one of the wisest people I've ever met, and it was her education nurse. And so they send you into this nurse, and she's kind of like your life coach for a bit. And she's talking to her about all the different things that are happening, and we're writing notes and all this kind of stuff. And all of a sudden, she wheels around on me, and she says, how you doing? And I'm like, I'm here supporting her. And she goes, no, I want to know how you're doing. And I'm like, well, this isn't about me, it's about her. She goes, no, it's about you too. You're along for the ride. And how you doing? I said, honestly, I just want to try and fix this. She says, you can't. And she told me the story of, she went through it with her daughter. Her daughter had a terminal illness, and she wanted to do the same thing. And then finally she got to the place where she settled into, I have to know my role in the situation, and I have to play my role well. And sports taught us that, right? That don't overstep your coverage, don't overstep what you're doing, or you mess the whole thing up. And if I try and do too much, I'm only going to stress her out and make things worse. The doctors are doing everything they possibly can. Me being stressed out and trying to make things happen because of my own personal anxiety is not helping the situation. So I used that all through raising my children. When Bev and I got married, is know your role. Stick to your role. Don't go outside your lane and stay there. And that makes everybody else around you a little happier, and allows them to play their role too, so that they mesh together.
I bet it was like with your mom's situation, doing such an alternative treatment. I bet there was a lot of judgment or advice given from people. Don't do that.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Especially like if it was a lot of like natural things, like just eat better, certain foods or drink certain things or whatnot. I'm sure people are like, oh, that's all hocus pocus.
Well, and this was like the early 90s. The organic thing was still pretty much in its infancy. There was very few orchardists that were even doing that.
Yeah, I would say it was like a bad thing.
Yeah, it was like
for
more
farmers,
taboo.
it was
kind of looked at negatively.
Because I remember we had a farm where we had to spray a lot of covers because the neighbor was organic early and they didn't have any of the cute, codling moth devices or whatever you could control that. So the neighbor got, you're spraying for codling moth and this neighbor's not.
So you have to do double the spray?
Yeah, or 7 times.
Well, and it's pretty mainstream now, but
it was in the beginning. They didn't have all this stuff.
I think back then it was kind of considered hippie granola.
Taboo.
Yeah, it was just like those were the weirdos doing that.
Yeah.
Hipsters.
That's not the science. Well, especially because science was just so improving so much so rapidly, and that start.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So
your mom must have had just an incredible enlightenment moment where she was like, this is what I'm going to do.
Well, I think the thing that changed it for a lot of people is when they saw her.
Yeah.
I mean, because she was a little overweight and her legs were swelling and stuff like that from the cancer kind of, moving in around her aorta and whatnot. And so she was retaining fluid. And she comes back from Mexico and she looks like a different person. She'd lost 35 pounds. She let her hair, she used to dye her hair. She let her hair grow out and it became gray, and she had this big long ponytail, and she just looked like an absolute different person, and she glowed. I mean, she just looked like the epitome of health, and it's just like, it's tough to argue with that when you saw what she looked like before she went.
Yeah.
Right. And when she came back, I mean, she had a watermelon-sized tumor in her abdomen, and they came back and they did scans and it was gone. And everybody's just like, the doctor's just like, I cannot, you need to tell me what they did, what they gave you, what shots they gave you, what chemotherapy did they give you down there? She goes, they didn't give me any chemotherapy.
Body's pretty amazing, isn't it?
Wow.
They had me eat organic food and do all these juices.
Sunshine.
And sunshine, walking on the beach every day.
And just de-stress and just get realigned with what actually matters.
Absolutely. Sometimes we get ourselves all...
Sometimes?
Most of the time.
Most of the time?
Yeah.
And then you were blessed again. You got remarried.
Yeah. So Bev and I got married in 2012. Her son, Jared, I adopted him. And matter of fact, they are on their way here right now with my granddaughter, Lydia.
Aww.
So pretty excited. Just bought a crib for her to have at the house. And their dog, Noki, who's kind of a jerk, but that's all right. We love him too.
We take all the improvements.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. So then we jumped into our marriage with 3 basically preteen teenagers.
That's easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We had a 14, a 12, and a 10-year-old. And
you were at Manson?
We're all Manson. Yeah. I was thinking about that coming in here. We talked about, you talk about, you got a couple old Manson Trojans coming in here. I said, the whole old Trojan line doesn't work quite as well as the old goat. It's like the old Trojan's like,
We're still youthful exuberance. We still have it. Right?
There's no such thing as old for Trojans.
Yeah, I know that's just not good.
Yeah. You mean old goat.
Well, it's funny. My dad, when he had his stroke, he was 82, and this is a true story. I didn't know he was 82. I thought he was like 60.
Well, what's funny is your son just said this about you.
I know, it's weird. My son says, I go,
no, but he said something similar about being
he's like,
50.
I go, how old? He goes, how old are you? I'm 56. He goes, how is that possible? You've been 50 for like 20 years. And I said, well, when you go bald early, everybody.
And the gray helps out too.
Yeah, then you're like bald forever. They don't know what, it takes a while. But no, it was funny because my dad was such a hard-working guy. He just was always out working. And I was just like, oh, but then I got lucky too. He gave me 4 more years because we spent every day together.
Yeah. Your dad's a good man. Yeah, I enjoyed working with him back in the day.
Yeah,
your mom too. They're just such great people and always so supportive of our sports and all that kind of stuff. They were just always there for us. And
thank you. And I think that's true of most parents.
Yeah,
especially back then.
I remember a basketball tournament we did or something down in Yakima.
Yeah,
we ended up beating Chelan in that one. I think.
Yeah, see,
barely.
See,
I think we fouled out though.
Probably got kicked out or something. Who knows? But yeah, we were intense. It was fun. Yeah, they were. That was a good time. But it is funny how when you think of old Trojans,
not
old Trojans, youthful, exuberant, older Trojans. Yeah, it's cool to see how many people are coming back too. That's kind of fun. That can make it back here, and it's fun to see how this has been helpful. To talk to people and then you hear about their kids or you hear about
I wouldn't change a thing. I wouldn't change a thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it was not the way I scripted it, unscripted. But now that it is where it is, even my time, Garth Brooks has a song called "The Dance," and in that song, I can't tell you how many times I've cried to that song. In that song, he said, "If I would have known, would I still have gone?" And yeah.
I'm the same way. I've had a lot of phases in my life, made a lot of mistakes, done some really cool stuff, but I don't have a lot of regret.
No.
Everything, all that, I call it wisdom through scar tissue sometimes.
And we have to share our scars so people understand that, it doesn't have to be a devastating thing. That God still wants good for us, even in the bad stuff. There still can be good that can happen from that.
Yeah, for sure. And I love that with talking to Kyle about how he looks at real life and how his whole approach is unique.
And
resonates with a lot of people.
Well, I think for so long, organized religion has made it very judgmental, and there's this certain stigma. But that's really not what God wants. God's about love and acceptance and finding a way through the hard times. And I've been there. I've questioned him. I've what the heck are you thinking? As a matter of fact, I don't think I used the heck word. WTF, God?
Yeah.
What's going on here? Why would you take a 39-year-old woman with 2 children? And why would you take her? Why would you do that? And he and I wrestled about that for a long time. But to meet Bev and to adopt Jared and to have the life that we have, I mean, it didn't happen, like Sherry needed to die, so that happened, because that happened. God made something wonderful out of, a family that, wouldn't have been. So, Manson would be very different if we didn't have Jared and Bev there. And she's a healthcare provider. She's worked at Lake Chelan Hospital, and now she's working down at Confluence and sees a lot of Manson and Chelan folks. I'm not allowed to know who because HIPAA laws. But I know people used to come to me at the Lumberyard. Oh, I saw Bev yesterday. I'm like, la 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 la. You're not supposed to tell me that.
Is she a naturopath or MD? Or?
No, she's a nurse practitioner. So she was in anticoagulation for a long time. She did family practice here in Chelan before they closed the clinic in COVID, and then she's now in the kidney disease down in. So she does dialysis and all that.
Yeah.
Well, it's fun. It's fun to see you happy, and it's been. I was just reading some of these things you've done for the community, Chamber of Commerce, Manson Business Association, Manson Chamber Board and past president, Manson Community Council, Lake Chelan Snowmobile Club and Search and Rescue for the past 10 years, Western Building Material Association Board and past president, Manson High School, baseball coach for looks like 9 years with Bill Thompson, AU basketball, baseball from what is that, like almost 12 years?
That's how you can tell they'll take anybody's in the AU coach if they let me coach basketball. Because I was not a basketball player.
Hey, some of the best coaches are not players.
Yeah.
And then youth ministry that you talked about, 92 to 2004. And now you're on the board of the community center, and that's an incredible...
I actually was on that, I don't even know if you can call us a committee. We were kind of a ragtag bunch of just dudes getting together at Kyle's table once a month and talking about how we could make this idea a reality. And the idea was so much bigger than anybody at the table. And it was just, a couple of contractors and a couple of people on the board at Real Life trying to say, how can we make this happen? And I remember doing the initial drawings, which looked nothing like the building that's built right now.
As is life.
But it starts with just a thought and vision.
It did,
and then it blossoms better.
And it just kept going and going and going, and it hit lots of bumps along the way, and still some bumps that we need to get over. I've got some good news here in the last couple of months with the donation that we got and the matching funds that go through the end of this year. Just really, really good stuff. And I guess there comes a point where you just have to choose to buy in and say, okay, we're going to make this happen. And it may not take the pathway that everybody wants us to take. I know folks are upset about where's that pool that you promised, It's coming. I'm here to tell you, I'm on that board and we talk about it all the time, and it is coming. Just not, I guess, in the timeline that everybody thought. I don't know how that got out there that way, but it did, and it's tough to reel that back.
We had that conversation. I had that in my own company with my agents. I was like, we're going to do this and this, and then like 3 months goes on, they're like, well, you haven't even done that. And I was talking about development. In my head, I didn't make it clear what development timelines look like. In their mind,
you're talking like 5 to 10 years.
Or at least 4 to 5 years.
And they're like, next week.
Yeah, well, what do you mean? You don't have any new listings for us. It's been 2 months.
They're like 3 months, maybe.
The ink
5?
can't get dry by then for the application. So the timeline inside my own company was a good lesson for me, because sometimes that assumption.
But when you've never been in that field or that work, or you've never done it yourself, you do not know how long something is going to take. And the process that's involved, unless you're in it.
Having managed people and been a coach and all that kind of stuff, you definitely want people to buy in. So you want them a little bit to hear what's coming, and this is the pathway that we're on. This is where we're steering the ship to. But I mean, everybody's kind of like little kids in the back seat. Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Are we there yet? Kind of like when Bill and I, when I came to coach with Bill, Manson hadn't been to a playoff. Matter of fact, the only banner that hung on the wall for baseball in Manson was my senior year. And we lucked out that we even got that banner. But we tried for so long. It had been such a dry spell. And I think Tim and a few of those guys had a banner then after that. But it had been 16, 17, 18 years before we went back to the playoffs again. So it took us a long time to rebuild that program. And so there's you say our goal is we want to go to the playoffs, and you get to the end of the 5th season and we still haven't gone. And it's like, well, I thought you said we were going to the playoffs. We're working on it. This takes a while.
Yeah, and that's what I was sharing every time I've been talking to people about it, since I was, fortunate enough and very grateful that Scott Hutchinson invited my wife and I to go to that gala, because I was kind of clueless about the amount of effort and the conviction, and I felt embarrassed about it, because I was like, man, that was me just not knowing there was even an issue that I could even help with. So I've been able to send some people there and get some tours, and I'm hopefully these podcasts are resonating with some people to get the information out. But one of the things that inspired me a lot was how hard you guys worked, and how the grit that it took to overcome the obstacles that, including COVID,
there were some tough conversations,
massive curveballs, right?
Oh man, that was honestly, if we could turn back time, gonna channel my inner Cher here. The song, you can turn back. We should have never started that project.
But see, isn't this, Brett, something like every entrepreneur that's ever accomplished anything in reality probably shouldn't do it?
No.
Because if you weigh the risk-return probabilities of opening a restaurant,
but that's
probably
why
shouldn't do it.
Yeah, but that's why you don't get all the answers up front, because then you wouldn't do it.
Well, we didn't know. We didn't know that, like you said, OSB was going to go from, or a sheet of plywood was going to go from, $9-10 to $80.
Yeah.
We didn't know that.
You must have been in the lumber business going, what?
Well, I just sold.
Oh, you just sold?
I had just sold it. I sold in 2020, and I stayed with them. And, it was freaking me out because, I had a line of credit, and you go buy a truckload of plywood, and it was $15,000-$20,000. I saw these truckloads coming in during that period of time, and those truckloads were $150,000 to $200,000.
Oh my gosh!
Well, my line of credit was only like $500,000, so I would have been able to buy 2 truckloads of plywood, and I'd be done.
You'd be on the phone. Hey, could you pay that? It showed up yesterday.
Yeah, it is bad.
So it was a blessing that you sold the time you did.
Anytime selling a business, unfortunately, is not like selling a car. Mm-hmm. It's not one of those things where you just, some businesses you can sell like that. But we had grown to a size where, and to be honest with you, it wasn't the same for me. I had a great crew. Most of them are still there. But I did it initially with my mom and dad. Mm-hmm. I came back, I made a commitment to my mom and dad. And when they both passed, it was just kind of like, and so I asked my kids, do you guys want to do it? And they're like, not really, Dad. We would if something happened to you. I'm like, well, that's what we're trying to avoid here.
Yeah.
Right. So the conversation started, at some point, do we do an ESOP? What do we do? And when the amount of people who can write that check the list is fairly small. First, people that want to buy lumberyards, and then people that can write the check to buy lumberyards.
Yeah.
They come to you. And so they came to me. They had already purchased Manson in Leavenworth and Wenatchee, and they were expanding, and they were a regional company. Chelan Building Centers was the name of the company, and great family-run operation, and they just said, we'd really like to buy you. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, well, I think I need to listen to what they have to say. Mm-hmm. And we ended up doing it, and I was only 52 at the time, so I stayed with them, and actually last week was my last week with them.
Oh, so, wow.
Yeah.
Congrats.
Moving into something new and different.
So what did you do for them from when you sold to now?
Well, I stayed on as, pretty much managed the market, so I managed, helped out the Chelan store, and then I managed the Manson store. And then they had an opening in their marketing department, and actually that was my degree at Washington State, was communications and marketing. And I'm like, it'd be kind of fun to do something different, towards the middle or end of my career. And so we did. I moved into marketing. So I did marketing for them for almost 4 years.
Nice.
Did you remote, or did you travel around?
I traveled to all those. We had 28 stores. So traveled Montana, Oregon, Idaho, on the coast. We had one out on Friday Harbor. Did lots of events and different marketing gigs for them. So
trying to get customers for them, or were you whole business?
I was doing more of the promotion and did some stuff with the sales end of it. We had another team that was doing more of the sales end of it. It was more marketing, radio, branding, all the different stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Well, great experience after working in one spot.
Yeah, it was kind of fun not to have. I didn't have employees. I had it was me and one other guy and our boss, and so it was a pretty small team and pretty fun. But the building industry right now is tough, and so they are downsizing a bit. And I just said, you know what, let me just make this easy.
What do you think is going to happen with all your experience? It's like Yogi Berra once said, predicting things is very, very difficult, especially about the future.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I would say, having been through it here multiple times, it will come back. The fundamentals of why people buy and build and want to come here have not changed.
Mm-hmm.
How about the actual lumber supplies, prices, wholesale prices? Was that a supply and demand driven?
It was during COVID, and now it's gotten back its pre-COVID pricing. So you're seeing that sheet of OSB back around $12, $13, $14. Okay. I don't know that it's ever going to go back to $7. That's just unsustainable. But the materials costs are relatively inexpensive right now. Lumber futures are towards the bottom of where they've been for a long time. The problem is that everything else that goes into a house, whether it's insulation or drywall or roofing or siding, all those things those increased, typically we would see those things. The lumber and plywood would fluctuate down here all the time, constantly, like every week. Whereas like siding, they would set a price, and that would be the price for the siding for an entire year. And then like in January, they would call us up, we're going to take our 6% increase. Right. Well, during COVID, those were happening every 3 months, and they weren't 6%, they were 20%. So all those other costs have stayed high. I priced out a door the other day, and I hadn't bought a door in forever. And we used to sell them for $179, $189, and I needed one for my cabin up lake, and it's like $400. I'm like, that cannot be right. Well, no, look that up again. And it's
I was at your old store and bought a 5-gallon bucket of paint, and I went, how much?
Yeah,
$3.50.
Yeah,
I went, what?
Paint's like $70 a gallon now.
Like,
didn't it used to be $15 a gallon?
Yeah, I just bought one.
I'm
20
like,
years
man,
ago.
now I sound like the old timers.
Yeah.
I used to buy that for us.
Yeah, I just am curious, like, is that opportunistic pricing for some companies, I would imagine? Like they just didn't lower it because they got it, and then.
Well, I mean, it just seemed like there was the ability to raise those prices because everybody was doing it. Some of it was supply and demand. We had huge supply chain issues where items like construction adhesive, we couldn't find anybody to buy it from. Well, you can't build a house if you don't have construction adhesive. Wow. So we were having to buy it from suppliers that we'd never talked to before. Everybody was out trying to buy stuff, and everybody was in the same boat.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, the demand got pretty high there, maybe falsely. And interest rates were still cheap, and I don't know, there was extra money laying around, and kind of like the RV market. You look at the RV places now, and it's like they're just stacked. They got so much. And people who bought their RV during the pandemic are now like, well, now we can go on the European vacation, so let's sell the RV. And so it's just this ebb and flow, and we're trying to find this stable ground, and it's really not there yet.
Yeah, it's interesting for sure. To survive all that, and you're still in the game. I mean, that's entrepreneurship 101. You got to find a way. Yep. And you're right. The demand is still always here, and always will be here.
Well, it's that big blue thing out there.
Yeah, the bathtub out back.
Yeah.
That sunshine.
And the beautiful weather and.
Yeah. Well, and the vibe that we talked
and
about.
Honestly,
the vibe is people come over here and they just feel, you can just see it kind of come off of them as they spend, the more time they spend here. And I guess that would be another thing that I would want to say is I'm really good friends with a lot of people who we would consider transplants, become good friends. I play in bands with them and different things like that. And just good, solid people with great ideas. And really, I don't think in most cases people want to come here and absolutely turn this place upside down and make it different.
I don't think they do either.
And there's a lot of them that are giving of their time and their talents back to this community, like we've all done for years.
Yeah. Well, and they invested a lot in improving this community. I mean, how many people, even the community center, have really donated and helped that have just a second home here and have only
the Turners they're not locals. They'd be considered transplants that came here and visit here and just love the Lake Chelan Valley and love it enough to put their money where their mouth is. I mean, I'm super thankful for folks like that. That's great.
And that helps the economy of this town and keeps everybody be able to keep moving.
I love that aspect of the community center, because it really is, kind of how we had the Legion or the Grange Hall.
Yeah.
It was kind of like a place,
a
little bit.
Yeah.
Where it was Cub Scouts or whether it was a dance or whatever.
Yeah.
That community center seems to me like if there's an assumption that is being made by people that are judgmental about progress or expectations, I think it's kind of just an information thing a lot of times because they are listening to a rumor mill, and it's like the telegraph game. It doesn't make sense. Yeah. And also, I think that there's what I'm hoping what the podcast is doing is resonating with some people about go there. Yeah. It's for everybody.
Absolutely.
It's not like a club or a Eagles club or a Elks club or you know what I mean? Like it's not a church or it's
a community center.
It can be anything.
Yeah.
And that is what I think is really exciting.
It's really fun when you drive by at night now and you see the Boys and Girls Club.
Oh, it's great.
It looks like a disco in there.
Yeah.
Oh, I haven't seen
that yet. It's
like,
I want to go in there. I wish I had that when I was a kid.
That blew me away in the gala when Brooke was talking, or maybe it was the gentleman that had retired and was from the Boys and Girls
Yeah.
Club in Everett, I think,
Yeah.
and that was really involved in spearheading and getting this off the ground and getting the AU from the city. And there was, when they said 500 kids in a town of 6,000 people that are in there already, and they're going to play currently in a warehouse in the winter. And I was just blown away, and I don't know if that's just me, but I think that's a lot of kids in a short period of time.
It's a lot of kids. Well, I think they went from, the basketball program went from 70 the year before to 280.
Wow.
That next year, and you're going to then take that, and you have soccer programs and baseball programs and all kinds of.
Tennis, golf.
All we had back in the day was baseball.
A little bit.
And aren't they doing something merging because of Manson's 4-day school week, that they're doing something for kids on Friday?
Actually, my wife and I walk every morning, and it was interesting because we walked later on Friday because she has Fridays off, and we saw the buses out there, and they were picking up kids and taking them in to the Boys and Girls Club. So they offer transportation, and I think there's even some meals that are offered and things like that. And when we get the gym open, then they also can be active, and in the times of year when maybe they wouldn't be, they'd just be sitting around watching YouTube or something.
Yeah, I think Brooke was mentioning also, if you have a family reunion, you have a club event, or you call them up, it's not that much to rent the building, and so
that's tried to keep it affordable. And so far, besides there's some legislative money, and I've heard a little bit of talk out there. So, well, they said they weren't taking any tax money. It's like, well, that money was going somewhere. Whether it was recreational funds or whatever, it was going to go somewhere. It may have gone into a center down in Issaquah or something. Would you rather that money that you already paid in and is going to go to somebody go to this project or go to a project outside of our valley?
Oh, yeah.
And so all we did was apply for those funds that were out there, grants.
And what a great place. The other thing, you married a Pateras girl.
And now a Vancouver girl.
But the reason I brought the Pateras, because this community center, especially with AU, isn't just for Chelan and Manson.
No.
And when you look at somebody like yourself that ended up marrying a girl from Pateras and Vancouver, but integrating these friendships through AU or through sports where everybody can enjoy the facility, especially when you get the gym finished, to me, that's so special. I mean, and so difficult. Like that concept, like you said earlier, if we'd have known how hard it was or how risky it was, we probably shouldn't have done it if we were, whatever. But you did. Yeah. And now it's here.
Well, because we had a grant that I want to say it was like $1 million, and we had to do it within it had an expiry date. And so we had to spend that money within a certain period of time, and really effectively it ended up being we were stepping over a $5 bill to pick up a nickel, because we had to spend that money, and the costs went through the roof. If you look back, gosh, if we had just either waited or not, but then we wouldn't be where we are.
Yeah.
But so the situation is what it is. It was a lot of stuff was completely out of our control. It was embarrassing for us to go, okay, we told everybody it was going to be, a $10 million project, and all of a sudden it went ballooned to 18, and then after things got out of control, it ballooned to 22, and it's just like, what just happened? And you look back, and it was all justifiable stuff. We did audits on it and everything else.
Right.
And, justifiable stuff. But I completely agree with you. I want to throw a shout out to Des, because I was so we have a cabin up lake, and in our complex of cabins up there at Lucerne, we have the Hueys and the Hubanks, and we were talking about the old Manson Chelan rivalry and all that kind of stuff, and they were just saying, with the onslaught of the, Boys and Girls Club now, but also the youth groups that are out there with Young Life and Real Life and the old North Shore days, and then the volleyball club and everything else. These kids from Manson Chelan do so much more interaction than we ever used to do. I remember,
and all the other towns.
We would see those kids, outside of sports, and we're like, well, aren't I supposed to hate that person? Because they were on the opposing team, and now it's just like, nah, they all play on. And they all know each other, and it's just so great. I'm just like, man, this is kind of how it should be.
You can be competitive, but not dislike each other.
Yeah, no.
And we all became friends. I remember we got a huge rivalry. They killed all the grass and put, the slang word for, a Trojan is,
yes,
right?
Yes.
They burned rubbers right into the field. Yeah. Like it was good, like an artistic. It was pretty good. If you like had an aerial drone back then, you could like whoever scaled that out. Dude, like you should be an engineer. But then those guys became my friends, and I think I ended up rooming with one in college.
Oh, that's funny.
But at the time, you're like, let's go.
Yeah.
But it's cool to see, and we do. Des doesn't take enough credit for.
She won't.
Yeah, she's an amazing human.
She won't.
I shared with
humble.
Brooke, where I listened to her in the volleyball amazing state tournament again, and she talked about everybody else that built that program, including her daughter, of course, Abby, who's doing amazing. But the real person that started it, in my opinion, is Des in that club, because they start young.
My daughter happened to be in she didn't end up making the team, but she ended up going and doing the practices and stuff and being on their practice team in that very first year with Des. And I think it was very good for my daughter. And that team, her senior year team, ended up going to state. Was the first time that Manson had been to state in volleyball in a very long time. And I attribute a lot of that to Des, even though she wasn't even the coach. It was Haley, and still is. And that's so incredible.
So much more than the sport itself. When they're teaching kids like your daughter, probably it's really about all the other things you learn about
all
team sports and life lessons and thrill, victory, and agony, defeat. And hey, let's face it. Adversity breeds clarity if you let it. But if you never face any adversity, then you get kicked out of the nest, which I think I run into in my business, especially when we had a lot of people there in Wenatchee, but where dealing with adversity seems like a kind of a weird thing sometimes for people. They're like,
people want to avoid it, but actually the times you grow, and I can speak from experience, the times you grow both personally and physically is under times of pressure. When you face that adversity and you lean into it. I used to tell my people, it's lean into the suck. It's just like, it's here.
If it's here, you might as well,
Well, you're right.
Be buffalo, be in the storm.
Yeah, and most of the time you either win or you learn. Very rarely do you win and learn.
Yeah.
It can happen, but it's not nearly as much as when you get your butt kicked.
I just remember as a freshman going up, and we went from flag football in junior high to tackle football. They didn't quite treat us freshmen the same way that they treat them nowadays.
And those are some
when
tough
Jared
kids.
Started, they protected their freshmen. No, there was no protecting us. And I can remember there were several times I thought I was going to die. And then I got up the next morning and I didn't die. And I'm like, wow. So you go out and you kind of touch that wall, and you realize the wall is actually further away than you think it is.
Yeah.
And it's
For
like,
sure.
wow.
Those guys older than you were, that class, like Keith's class, there were some studs in that class.
Oh, yeah, Keith's class was stacked. In baseball, we had 6 of those guys were all league. Yeah. And then they all graduated, and that was the year that Brewster won the state championship. And the next year, we didn't have any of those guys. It was Frank and Paul and me and Todd Jackson and a few other guys, and we ended up going to state. And that team with all those studs didn't, because of that Brewster team, and they took 2 teams from our league that other year.
I remember. It's funny to think about that, though. It's the adversity that people want to avoid. It's like what you want in life is directly related to what most likely you're avoiding. The work you're not doing, and then there's this, well, what if I fail mindset? And I don't know what happened exactly, and I'm still trying to figure it out. And we've talked about this a lot, like what really happened to kids, and maybe it's our fault as parents that we were helicopter parenting, we were bulldoze parenting, we were protecting them, or maybe it was technology, or maybe it was COVID, but this idea of the driven person, the work ethic issues, and I'm not saying it's all wrong, because we were pretty driven to an extreme, and maybe that's not all good either.
No.
That work-life balance thing that comes in, I don't know how to do it. Like, I'm trying to do it. Like, I try, but I don't know if there's a thing for entrepreneurs that is balanced.
Well, I mean, not to sound cynical, but when your wife gets diagnosed, you figure it out.
You figured it out. Yeah.
I was a 70-hour-a-week guy, and I quickly learned not to be that guy anymore.
Yeah, it takes a focus, and
it was a life switch for me.
Yeah, and I got remarried 3 years ago, and that's something. And I stopped drinking, and some things that I had to do. Now my life's, I'm more balanced now than I've ever been.
Yeah,
and it's good. I mean, and I don't know if I'd take any of the past away, but
no, but that's part of the tapestry of who you are, right? You can't take those threads out. That's everybody you've met and every experience you've had becomes part of that tapestry.
Yeah.
Right. And I've said that at several funerals. I'm super happy that I met people like Cork Ott, you know, as cantankerous as he could be sometimes. I'm super happy I had that opportunity because I think he, you know, I can think of things in my life that are different because of Cork, you know, had our cabins up lake and
were you involved in the purchase of the
yes.
Good for you.
Yes.
Congrats.
Yeah, that was a Hail Mary.
And Brian, I told Brian.
Yeah,
congrats.
Brian and I are buddies, so he and I snowmobile together.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, when that went up for sale, that was a challenge.
That was very much a challenge. Yeah, it still is, even post closing. But it's so nice to still be up there.
Once in a lifetime opportunity, though.
I've never been up there.
It's very
special.
different. It's a step back in time. You know, it's good friends with Sid Burns. Just actually saw him this morning.
Did you?
And he helps take care of Domke, which is the little resort. It's not much left after the fire up there, but he said something to me once, and I mean no offense. I'm wearing my Stehekin hat. I love Stehekin. It's one of my favorite places, and I have so many family memories up there, camping at Weaver Point and everywhere else. But he says Lucerne is what Stehekin pretends to be. So.
That's hilarious.
Well, then apparently I need to make.
You know,
a trip.
I've never been to Domke Lake.
Oh, really,
Never.
dude?
I know.
Well, it's very different now. It's
it
used to be this fun hike through the trees, and now it's the fun hike on a dirt hillside. But the lake is still beautiful, and we hike every 2 or 3 times a year we go up.
Who was the pilot years and years ago that flew to Stehekin over and over and over?
Oh,
I'm trying to remember. My dad used to tell me stories when he was growing up that they'd get in the plane and he'd go to sleep, and then he'd wake up right before he landed. He did that trip so many times. But yeah, that's been a special place. We know we did Peggy Courtney up there.
Oh, you did? Oh,
Yeah.
I
She
must have
sings
missed that
a
one.
song
Wait.
and then she does a solo after.
Well, I used to play she was at Real Life for a long time, and she and I played in a band together, and those are some of my favorite
Wendy
memories.
Garfoot and Peggy, we were up there in the Buckner Orchard on a
she
picnic
sang
table.
Blessed.
I did see that. I need to go back and watch that one.
Yeah.
And then at the
I
end,
love
she
Peggy.
sings
She's one of
that
my
new
favorite
song
people.
she just wrote.
Blessed.
Yes.
Yeah.
Blessed.
Yeah, I downloaded that one. That's she's great. She's a good person.
Yeah, she's such a beautiful human.
Yeah.
Well, we've got a lot out of this, you know, for the last 53 weeks in a row or whatever we're doing, and hopefully, I think we're getting out more of it. It's more fun for us.
Who knows where we're at
But
now.
I wanted to thank you for coming. We've been talking for like an hour and a half, and I think we could talk for hours and hours and hours. And I hope we get to meet some more and hang out some more.
Yeah, I mean, now that I'm kind of semi-retired, so
I'm sure you'll fill
Better get a real
your
estate
time with
license.
something.
yeah, no.
You hinted that you had an idea of something
There's some industry stuff that I've been talking to the guys at the Western Building Materials Association. Believe it or not, there is a need for roundtable consultants throughout the nation. So you bring in non-competing lumber yards, and you sit down and you share your financials and you talk about where you are. So a guy like myself who's kind of been there, done that for 35 years, you can come in and you can start those conversations happening. So there's an opportunity possibly for me to go do these roundtables throughout the United States.
That's awesome.
There's a bit of a void right now. The group of guys that used to do them have gotten a little bit older and aren't willing to travel as much, and so it's kind of, we need a new crop of people to come in and do these consulting gigs. So
Wish you the best.
Great.
Hope it works
Yeah.
out.
Yeah, and then
See
you can
around
travel
and-
and see the world, or see the United States.
yeah. I don't know if that part's great, but I mean, I'm happy to go see the rest of the United States. I'm not really excited about traveling too much.
Yeah.
But
Well, thanks again, Brett.
yeah.
Been fun. Signing off from Small Towns Unscripted.